Okay, Eskilshiman, would you like to begin?
Yeah, let's begin. So as you see, we this is welcome to Faith and Calm, class number 206. I am actually in Alexandria, Virginia, about a block away from the Pentagon. I'm at a meeting tomorrow there. Um, anyway, welcome to Faith and Calm. We are getting ready for Shavous. We're going to count tonight. What did we count last night?
Last night we counted 41.
Last night we counted 41. So make sure you count 41 after 41. um,
Let's remember at the end of the class, even at the end of the class, we won't be able to count yet, right?
right.
Okay.
No, it's still too early.
Okay, go ahead, Eskilshiman. We can't
Okay.
until
And
it gets dark.
we're all trying to refine ourselves and prepare ourselves for the big event. Now, so therefore, I thought, hey, let's start talking about Shavuos. You're supposed to talk about it 30 days beforehand. So just a small little thought. It'll be very short tonight about Shavuos. And it was a mimer that I was learning.
Would you
So
like to define mimer?
a Hasidic discourse.
A deep Hasidic discourse from one of the
From
Rebbeim,
this from the Rebbe, from this was from the Rebbe. I forget the year it was. And he in the mimer, he's explaining that this week is going to come up on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, and that's the day that the Jews arrived in the Midbar Sinai, the wilderness of Sinai, and they all camped as one. They were all united as one, as we all Jews are now today again, all united as one. We're all realized that we're all part of one body, one group of people. We're all concerned with each other. So Lev Echad, and they arrived in this place called Midbar Sinai, the wilderness of Sinai. And there began the process of being ready for the receiving the Torah. And the way they received the Torah is they were told by Hashem, in 6 days you're going to be receiving the Torah. And they said, great, Na'aseh v'nishma. We will do, and we will listen. And that's a key ingredient to the receiving of the Torah, because you have to go back to this idea. We, as human beings, we learn from little children, and we learn about the world, and we learn about what's about, and we talk by our parents, and we have experiences, and we learn a lot from our experiences and from our life. And as we get older, Shalom Meshuhadas.
Yes, I know. Hi. Did you announce what the name of the class is, Eskilshiman?
No, I didn't.
Okay, the name of the class, we should put it right up at the front. The name of the day anti-Semitism was born. That's the name of this class. Okay.
Okay. So anyway, it's very important to understand this. We learn from experience. Our lives, we get hopefully wiser and older as we get older and wiser, older and wiser at the same time as we go along through life. And but can we actually ever really transcend ourselves and who we are and our experiences, or are we all basically trapped in our own understandings of how the world operates? And Torah really changed the dynamic around, and it made it the other way around. It made it so that God said, listen, I'm going to tell you the final understanding, what really all life is all about, what all this existence is all about. And that's what I'm going to reveal to you at Har Sinai, and you're going to understand the truth of the universe. However, that's a very lofty thing. Torah is connected with God, God's essence. And therefore, a human mind, how does it prepare itself? How does it become connected with that level? That's a very, very lofty understanding. So the only way that we can really get there is by this process of basically saying, you know what? It's not, I'm just going to repeat what God's saying. I'm going to repeat his words. It's not about me. It's not about my intellect. I am really just a channel. I am a conduit. I am a shofar. The shofar doesn't make a sound. It's through the shofar, it reveals a certain sound. You can't make a shofar make a sound. It comes out through the shofar. The shofar, you blow it, and it will do what it wants to do, and so forth. That's what we are, really. That's what the Jewish people are. That's why we're compared to the moon. We don't have our own light. We are basically our beacons of God's light. And we become more of that beacon through a very important process, which is called bittul, which is nullifying ourselves, which doesn't mean I say I'm a nothing, but it means that I'm going to stop trying to think about myself and my own ego and my own existence and my separateness from God, and rather just be a channel. Whether whatever is happening, this is I am an expression of godliness, and in every situation, that's what I have an opportunity to do, and that's what the Jews did at Har Sinai. They basically said, they didn't say, we're going to understand this, and therefore, when we finally agree with it, we're going to start doing it. They said, Nasa v'nishma, we're going to do it, and then we're going to try and help understand it. And for doing that way, there came angels on that day, the first day, Rosh Chodesh Sivan, and they gave them 2 crowns, one for Nasa and one for Nishma. And that was the important thing, that the Jews basically said, you know what? I am just a conduit. I am not thinking about myself. The outcome of this is the Jews have this ability to be able to be a pure channel for the ultimate reality. And unfortunately, God originally went around to all the other nations of the world, and he tried to give them the Torah, because he's not, I'm not being particular to the Jews. I like all people. I created them all, but they didn't want it. They don't have that ability to be able to put themselves aside. They want to feel themselves independent of God. And so God said, not you. Yaakov I love, Esav I don't love. And that caused a tremendous amount of sina. Sina is the word for hatred. And that is why this mountain is called Har Sinai, the mountain of, in effect, of hatred. Because from that point in time, when the Jews received the Torah, they actually, it revealed, you know what, that the Jews are on a different level than everybody else. Not that we're trying to bully them around or order them anywhere, but rather that we have an ability to connect to the ultimate truth because we're not thinking about ourselves. That, for many people, that's okay. They're happy with that. But for people who are arrogant and who think that they know everything and who have their own religion and they believe then they're pushing their own agenda and they have their own politics and stuff like that, those people get really upset and they cause a certain amount. That's where a certain amount of hatred comes from, is because of this idea that somehow they think, you know what, that being the Jew is making them feel small. And that's in effect right. The best thing for a person is to feel small. In other words, to realize that you're a servant and you're here not to serve yourself, but you're here part of a mission that God created you, and that's what got and what's supposed to happen. So to sum it up, then, Har Sinai is this month, the 3rd month, reveals this capability of the Jew to be able to put himself aside, and therefore also act as a shofar to be able to reveal godliness everywhere in this world. And he does that mainly through not worrying about his own independent existence, but rather about what this is something that can bring out godliness. And my wife is going to give some stories that hopefully will take some of these lofty ideas and make it much more concrete. And I'll pass the mic on to Shalom Shavous.
Okay, I think that another reason that it's called, so Yehezkel Shimon said that God appeared, I believe, to the ministering angels of the other nations, and they weren't interested. They weren't interested in, what do you mean? No murder? What do you mean? No stealing? Anyway, it wasn't exactly what they wanted to do. And so it's not just that so when the Jews accepted the Torah, the Jews are, biggest anti-Semite of them all. Hitler said it so clearly. Why is he an anti-Semite? He said it so clearly. He said because Jews are the conscience of the world, and that's why they have to be disposed of. So as soon as Jews became the consciousness of the world in Har Sinai, that engendered the same sinus hinum, sinus, hatred, but there's something else that was generated on that day. The other side of the coin is the receiving the Torah didn't just generate hatred in the world. It's what did the the day the Jews accepted the Torah also brought tranquility to the entire world. It sounds like a contradiction, hatred and tranquility. Because even for a non-Jew, when even for I'm not saying even for a non-Jew, for Jews and for non-Jews, even though they didn't get the Torah, they weren't part of the people that got the Torah. It makes a person more relaxed when the world when the world gets in track with its purpose. When the world goes on the track on which it's supposed to go, it brings tranquility to the entire world. So I'm gonna go into that more next week when I'm going to talk about the secret of tranquility. But I'm going to tell a story about this time in my personal life, and it's whatever. It's a nice story of divine providence. Um, long many years ago, I probably yeah about 9 years ago, I had a dear cousin in Israel. Dear cousin. Everybody adored him. Everybody adored him. When he was young, he was like, super energy. And when he got older, in his 60s, he was still, extraordinarily. He was funny. He was colorful. He had a lot of energy. He was a magnet for people. And unfortunately, he got sick and he had the dreaded disease, and he had a reprieve for a few years, but then at the young age of 64, he passed away, and he passed away. He had three grown kids at that point and a wife, and this cousin, a character, but he didn't understand the importance of a lot of things, a lot of Jewish things, and he told his family, "Do not say Kaddish for me. I don't want to bother." He had two boys, and he said, "I don't want anybody to bother with that. Don't name anybody after me. Don't say Kaddish for me. Don't do it." So anyway, so they obeyed his wishes, but it's not a good thing for a person not to have Kaddish said for them. It's extraordinarily important for the soul when they leave this world to have somebody say Kaddish for them. And so Yaskel Shimon, we both adored him as well. And so Yaskel Shimon, on his own, said Kaddish for my cousin for a year. And at the end of that time, at the end of that year, you say Kaddish for 11 months after the person passes away. And that you don't say it on the 12th month because it's considered that the correction that a Jewish soul has to go through takes in general only 11 months. It doesn't take a whole year. So you stop at 11 months, and then on the yard site, 12 months after the person passed away, you say Kaddish on that day. You say Kaddish on the day of the yard site. So Yaskel Shimon said Kaddish for the 11 months, and then on the yard site, he said the night of the yard site, he said Kaddish, and then the next morning, of course, he was going to say Kaddish. He was in shul, and for some reason, I was sleeping still, and I don't know, I maybe it was a Sunday, who knows, but I was sleeping, and all of a sudden, around 8 in the morning, at the very end of sleep, at the very last moments of sleep, it's very common to have vivid dreams. Your REM stuff is really, it's really going crazy then. And out of the blue, uh, this cousin's mother had passed away 20 years before then. And out of the blue, I hadn't thought about my aunt. I hadn't pictured her. I hadn't thought at all about her. All of a sudden, the morning of his yard site, I see in my dreams, there's my aunt, and she's got a beautiful beaming smile on her face. And I said, Aunt Helen. And I leaped up out of my bed. I literally leaped from the bed to the telephone, and I furiously dialed Yeskel Shimon because it occurred to me, oh my gosh, it's the yard site. Probably he's forgetting to say Kaddish this morning. Probably he forgot. And that's why she's appearing to me. And so I called him up, and Yeskel Shimon picked up the phone and he said, just said Kaddish. And then it dawned on me that, oh, why did she appear to me? She appeared to me because she's so grateful that somebody said Kaddish for her son. She's so grateful. And why didn't she appear to Yeskel Shimon? Well, shouldn't she appear to Yeskel Shimon? He's the one who did the blood, sweat, and tears of saying Kaddish 3 times a day for 11 months. And then I realized if she appeared to him, she appeared to him, he wouldn't have known who she was. He never saw her in his life. We got married after she passed away. Yeah, we got married after she passed away. She passed away in 92, and Yeskel Shimon and I got married at the end of 94. So anyway, fast forward the story to 5 years ago, exactly 5 years ago, at this time of year. Yeskel Shimon and I went to Israel. I don't remember why, but we went Lag BaOmer. We were there Lag BaOmer. And we came back just before Shavous, just like this time of year, exactly like this time of year. And we had a wonderful time in Israel. We saw all our relatives. We didn't get to see my cousin's widow, my cousin's young widow. We didn't get to see her. She was too busy. But anyway, we heard from a mutual relative that she was doing fine, that she, it was 5 years now since her husband had passed away. And was it 5 years at that point? I'm not sure. It was a few years since her husband passed away, and maybe three to five. And she was getting her life together. That's what our mutual relative told me. And so we had a great time in Israel. We came home, and we're on the flight, and we couldn't sit together on the flight. We couldn't get seats together. So we're on the same row, but there were like 5 people in between us. We were in the middle section. And it had been a beautiful trip in Israel. And we got to see the birth of a close friend of ours, a young man. We got to see the birth of his second kid. And it was a very special time. And so as the plane was landing, I looked over to Yeskel Shimon and I went like this. And Yeskel Shimon leaned forward and he said, we have to go back. And I was thinking, what are you talking about? And he said, I'll tell you later. And we got off the plane, and Yeskel Shimon said that he had been sleeping right before the plane was about to land. And right as he was waking, he saw my cousin, the one who had passed away. And my cousin said to him, listen, you got to tell my wife, if she's not tranquil here on earth, I can't be tranquil up there. You have to tell her she's not tranquil. Tell her she has it. I can't be tranquil in heaven because she's not tranquil here on earth. And that was it. And so Yeskel Shimon said, we have to go back. I have to tell her. And I was thinking, what are we going to do? I felt for sure that this was a genuine encounter with the other world. This was a genuine message from my cousin. But but how, if his message was true, if his wife was not tranquil, how do you tell a person who's not tranquil, be tranquil? If you're not tranquil, your husband can't be tranquil in heaven. How can you do that? You can't. It'll make them less tranquil, right? You can't just say be tranquil to somebody who can't be tranquil. And so I was thinking, I don't know how we can tell her. It's just going to make the situation worse. I don't know how we can tell her. I got home. It was on a Sunday. We got home. The flights arrive in Boston around 5 in the morning on Sunday morning, and you take off from Israel on Saturday night. And so I was in time I take a class in the Rebbe's talks of the year 1991, 1992. I take every day with Shavous. Every day that I can, and that's most days of the week, I take that class. So I tuned into my class around noontime. And that week's parsha was the parsha of this week, the Midbar. And we open it up, and my jaw drops open. The entire Sikha is about how to be tranquil. And so I said, I have my answer for my relative. I have my answer. So, so anyway, briefly, briefly, the way to be tranquil is that when you sense purpose in your life, when you sense the hand behind your life, when you sense that everything has a purpose, even the things that drive you crazy have a purpose, then that brings tranquility. And when you sense no purpose and you think things are random, that is the opposite of tranquility. And we're going to talk more about it next week. So with that, unless somebody has something to say, I'm going to end right here. And I'm going to turn off the recording.